in coaching, it's not therapy, where therapy is looking at past experiences and healing that. It's more like future focused.
Welcome to the Impact Driven Entrepreneur, the podcast that helps you expand your reach and convert that reach into clients so you can lead your tribe with confidence and create change in the world while living the life you desire. And now your host, certified business coach and consultant, Mariana Ruiz.
This episode of the Impact Driven Entrepreneur is brought to you by my Become a Client Magnet Intensive. In this 90-minute intensive, you will learn how to attract ideal clients to you using your free content. So you'll learn how to actually monetize your free content, how to attract the right people and get the people to convert. In other words, to purchase from you from your free content. And I've walked hundreds of women through this process of creating your magnetic message and really starting to attract people to you through being yourself and not being pushy and not being salesy. So if that sounds like something that you want to do, go to marianacruiz.com/work with me, or just go to marianacruiz.com and click on the Work With Me page. Hi there, and welcome to the Impact Driven Entrepreneur. In today's episode, I'm going to be talking about the difference between coaching, consulting, mentoring. Are all of these things just a label, or is there a difference in how the service is provided? So I was really excited to chat about this topic because lately, and especially like over the last few months, I've had talks and discussions with different people who are feeling kind of gypped. And that's like a totally untechnical word, but feeling like they're not getting what they want out of the training or the investments that they're making in their business. And I think it's such an important thing to go into an investment knowing what you're getting. And I think as a provider of a service, it's also really important to make sure you're labeling your things as they are to describe what it is you're giving to people. So I think this topic is going to be beneficial for both aspects. And so let's jump right in. So the first one I want to talk about is training. So this will look like courses and, even like free trainings like this podcast or webinars or courses, right? Like that's kind of what I'm talking about training. It's more like the learning of things. And this is what will help you to know what to do. So think about it as if you're like going into a job situation. Like you might need to learn how to use the register when you start working at a specific company. And so like maybe you're doing checkouts for people. And so it's like a training on that specific topic. You self-select what area you want to learn about. And so this does happen with courses, right? So like I say, I want to learn about Facebook ads. I'm going to go take this training on Facebook ads. And that's how training really works. And then they tell me what to do. So like, okay, you go into the Power Editor, you create the image, you create the copy, that kind of thing. And these are usually one of the biggest pros is that they're usually free, low cost, or very low cost compared to what that person invested to learn that information. Another form of training you can think of too is kind of like reading a book. It's going to tell you what to do and you can just go and do it on your own. So right now I have an example, of course, of a training that I'm doing. It's called the Decision Matrix Training. This is like to help you decide like what social media platform would be most profitable for you and which one to spend your time on. This is a training you go and watch the videos on your own and it's free. And then at the end, after that training, there's a very low cost offer. Again, very, very low cost and free. So if you want to get that, by the way, it's at marianacruiz.com/decide. And I do my trainings a little bit different than most people. And the reason for that is because I don't believe in cookie cutter systems. And so you'll see when you get to that training that I help you to decide what platform is best based on you, where you are in your business, what your team looks like, what your resources look like, and where your audience is. And so I do my training in that very like high level strategic way because I want you to understand like what you need to do, but also like why. Not every training is like that. I, for example, have taken a course on a specific topic that will remain unnamed because I think you'll figure out who this person is. But I took a course. The person told me everything of what to do. Like literally, like example would be like that Facebook ads training that I was telling you about, right? Like open the Power Editor and create the copy and create an image. And that's all great and useful information. But if you don't have a higher level strategy, you can't really get that far with just training. And so that's where I kind of caution you on the training. If you are either going to invest in training or if you are creating training, try to explain to people why they need what they need, right? Like, why is it that they need that specific thing? And another con about training is that you need a lot of self-discipline, right? Because you have to be disciplined enough to go through the training. And then most importantly, you have to be disciplined enough to implement that information and be open to the fact that you're not going to implement it perfectly the first few times, right? A lot of the trainings that you'll see out there are kind of like, you know, how to make $20 million on Instagram. Great. But you're not going to do that in the first day. Like that's just unrealistic. And so we have to set aside some of that hype and also be willing to do the work that is necessary to get the results that we want. And again, information alone does not just get you the results. So thing number 2 that I want to talk about is, and hey, everybody who's watching on Facebook Live, thank you. Okay, so coaching. I just got an ICF certification this month. Actually, no, it was like a couple months ago now. Time is just flying by. And here's what I learned. Like the first thing that we learned in coaching is that we, as a coach, are really attuned to the fact that that person knows everything that is best for them. That means in coaching, we technically can't really tell the person what to do. And this whole misconception about coaching is why I decided to do this live stream and this podcast, because I've been getting people who are like, I'm confused. You know, I've had coaches and they didn't tell me what to do. And the reason for that is because coaches aren't supposed to tell you what to do. They're there to support you. Their role is to help you find your own answers. And that's actually why through my ICF coaching certification, I decided to change my name from coach to coach and consultant. And that's because I want to still have the option to bring my expertise in and, you know, bring in that consulting side of things. Because when I do coaching with people, and I call it coaching/consulting, but I literally look like there's a client on here. So like I literally looked at their entire webinar. Like that is consulting. Okay. That is, I tell you what to say on your webinar. I tell you what to say or not say on certain copy, right? That is consulting and it's totally different than coaching. And another pillar of coaching that is different is that coaching is future focused, and that is what differentiates it from therapy. So therapy is very much looking at the past and kind of trying to heal that past. And so if that's happening in coaching situations that you're in, you know, that technically is not within the scope of coaching practice, but also just to be mindful that that person might need another level of care than what coaching provides. And so just some of the pros and cons. So pros, it's self-directed. Coaching is self-directed. So you bring the issues at hand to each session and we guide you based on what you want. It's not based on a curriculum like a course that the person decides for you. It's all based on what you need right now at this moment to move to the next step in your business, to move to the next thing. And it's all future focused. Okay, so you don't necessarily get the answers told to you in coaching. That is a big difference, right, with coaching versus consulting or mentoring or any of that kind of thing. And also in coaching, it's not therapy, where therapy is looking at past experiences and healing that. It's more like future focused. Okay, so next I want to talk about mentoring. So mentoring is all based on that person's own experience. So it might be something like, I built this type of business. I built a speaking business, and now I can tell you kind of what I did to build my speaking business. And this is how I pretty much started with my first few coaches that I hired. And I talked about it earlier this week on Facebook. And it was a mistake that I made, and something that I want to be really open and honest with you about is, when you're deciding to hire somebody, either for coaching or mentoring or consulting or whatever, really knowing, are they basing their knowledge that they're telling you on their own experience? Are they basing it on something they worked on in corporate? Are they basing it on working with other businesses? Like, where is the information coming from? And will that fit into the business I want to build? Because here's the thing. When I worked with my first coach, she was great. She built a great business for herself. And the way she built it was based on doing speaking gigs. Now, if you know my story at all, you know that when I first started coaching, I was building my business while working full time, and I had a baby. And then I had a brand new baby who was in the NICU, literally home with me on breathing monitors. And my coach wanted me to go and do speaking gigs. I also happened to live in a town of less than 20,000 people in the middle of nowhere. So that strategy did not work for me. That strategy that we were going to use, right, because of the mentoring situation, was not what was right for me in my business. And I didn't have the support I needed around other strategies that I might be able to use to build my business and, grow my list and grow my following. So I ended up switching to a different coach who was using online strategies. And that's how I got to where I got when I got there, right? So that allowed me to propel forward is when I found somebody that was in alignment with the type of business that I wanted to build. So just being mindful of that is really, really important. And I think also, if you are the coach or the mentor, thinking about, okay, is this really the way that this person wants to build their business, right? And I know this worked for me, but would this be the best thing for them? Because I want to talk to both sides of that, right? Like, it can happen to, anybody, right? That we think, oh, well, it worked for me, it must work for them. And really, everybody is in a different situation. So we have to assess it totally different every time. Okay, next I want to talk about consulting, because I talked about it a little bit when I talked about coaching, but this is really a lot more hands-on. So this is usually based on this person's work that they've done either in their business only or with other businesses. So I call myself a coach and consultant because I bring my knowledge from corporate, where my job in corporate was to save money for the hospital. I literally looked at the utilization of resources in the hospital and made sure that they were turning a profit. And so that was an incredible job and an incredible way for me to look at like the inner workings of a business and waste and the use of resources and increasing profits. And through that work there was a month that place was struggling, and I ended up getting them $400,000 in revenue saved just that month because of that work that I was doing. So that is the knowledge that I bring in to my coaching situations. And for online businesses, I do two types of consulting. One where I literally run people's ads for them. So that's a way that you can do consulting, is like a done for you service, totally done for you. Or you can do a combination, which is like in my long-term program, I literally grab you by the hand and are like, okay, we're going to do a challenge. Let me look at all the emails you're going to send. Let's make sure we have the copy right. Let's make sure the messaging is right. Rather than coaching, which is like, okay, did you do the email? Yes, no. Or you said you're going to do the email. Did you do it? Right. So with consulting, it's a lot more hands-on, and it's a lot more of me hands-on with you. or it's totally done for you. Depends on the service that you end up getting. So this one is cool because you get personal feedback on what you're doing. Like, I'm not going to lie though, because you get that much more support, it's a lot more of an investment than, let's say, taking a course, right? So it's way more customized to you, but it can be a lot more expensive. And at the same time, because you're executing it differently than you probably would on your own, the results are also different. So you will probably get a lot bigger results and a lot quicker. And then lastly, I want to talk about counseling. So counseling is really looking at your past and healing it. And when I was a nurse still and working in counseling, I did some grief counseling because I work with transplant patients. And it was really cool, but it was also really, really stressful as the provider of that service. And it's something that I wanted to touch on here just because, like I said, future focused is coaching. And so the good thing about counseling is that you can really heal those past experiences. But the con is that sometimes people get really stuck in trying to heal everything in the past and then they aren't moving forward. So again, it depends on the scope of like what the counselor is doing with you and where you are in your healing journey. I'm not saying also, like, if you have a psychological diagnosis, it's probably best to go seek counseling, especially initially, until you get some healing and you start to move forward with that. So that is a recap of all of these different things. And so I'm going to just do a quick recap. So number one, training, which was more like courses. The pros are that it is a lower cost. It's usually done on your own. So that can mean like time flexibility, but also requires some discipline to actually go implement on your own. Coaching is future focused and also helping you find your own answers. Mentoring is really somebody taking you under their wing and telling you what worked for them, and then helping you to implement that same thing into your life or business. So you want to make sure that there's alignment there. And then consulting, which is more done for you services or done with you, depending on the program that you get into and who you're doing it with. And lastly, counseling. So counseling is looking at the past and healing the past and making sure that you're healed, for, especially if you have a psychological, diagnosis of any kind. So anybody on Facebook Live have questions or like anything that you want to talk about with regard to this topic? I'm doing this on the new Facebook Live feature, which is audio only, which is super, super exciting. And I'm going to be totally obsessed with this and doing this a lot more because audio is my jam, like especially because I can continue in my PJs all day. And if nobody has any other questions or comments, I'm going to hop off. But if anything comes up and you're watching the replay, please feel free to let me know and just post in the comments below. And have an awesome day. Bye. Okay, so for those of you on the podcast, I recorded this on the new Facebook Live feature. It is on Facebook. You can actually, when you're about to go live, there's either a video or a microphone at the very top, and you can just hit the microphone and you can actually be just on audio on Facebook Live, which is awesome. So I did that inside of the Impact Driven Entrepreneur Facebook group. So feel free to join us there and you can get a head start on the podcast episodes. I want to be releasing a lot more solo episodes like this, which are kind of like mini trainings. And so you can get in a little before it comes out live on the podcast by joining the Facebook group. And if you haven't already, head on over to get the Decision Matrix. This is a video training that will help you to decide what social media platform will be most profitable for your business based on where you are, where your customers are. And really, like I said, I make that as unique as possible because I don't really believe in cookie cutter systems. I think that we have to tailor it to you and your audience very specifically. So have an awesome day, and I will see you in next week's episode where we're going to be doing an on-air coaching session. And it's a coaching / consulting now that we know kind of like the differences. And I really wanted to prime you for that because I wanted you to see kind of what to expect and what it's like. So next week, we're going to be doing a coaching / consulting session with Jackie Medeiros, and we're going to be talking about pricing, how to structure your packages and your pricing. So be sure to hit subscribe on the podcast app so that you get that training. Okay, have an awesome day. Chat with you soon.